Boxing world today, as always with our sport guys, as heavyweight champion of the world, Daniel Dubois has called out.
In today's boxing world, the drama continues to unfold, with heavyweight champion Daniel Dubois making waves by calling out internet sensation Jake Paul for a fight. This surprising challenge is drawing attention from fans and critics alike, with many questioning the legitimacy of this potential matchup. Daniel Dubois, a skilled and experienced heavyweight, has been at the top of British boxing, and his call-out of Jake Paul has raised eyebrows across the sport. But is it a serious challenge, or is Dubois just chasing clout and a payday? Dubois, known for his knockout power and impressive victories, has been making a name for himself in the boxing world. His latest win against Anthony Joshua solidified his place as one of the top heavyweights. Given his skills and achievements, it's clear why he might think a fight with Jake Paul could be lucrative. With the financial reward being a significant motivator, it's not hard to see why Dubois would take the chance to fight someone with the global following that Jake Paul has built through his YouTube career. Dubois' challenge was made public when he slid into Jake Paul's DMs, calling him out for a fight. Paul, ever the marketer, responded with his usual comedic flair, posting a meme and a caption saying, "Get in line." This exchange is part of the ongoing saga where Paul seems to avoid real challenges from seasoned boxers, opting instead for easier celebrity matchups. Many see this as Paul avoiding serious competition, always making excuses when real professional boxers call him out. But this latest call-out by Dubois is different. It's not a social media influencer or a former athlete. This is a top-tier fighter with a heavyweight championship belt. Jake Paul has stated time and again that he wants to fight professional boxers, not just influencers. He claims he wants to prove himself in the ring, and he's been vocal about taking on seasoned fighters. He's made it clear that his goal is to challenge high-level competition rather than sticking to easy fights. Paul's recent fight with Tommy Fury was meant to be the start of his journey into the world of legitimate boxing. After that match, he's made even more noise about taking on fighters with real experience, promising that his next fight would be a professional boxer. However, there are a lot of doubts surrounding Jake Paul's sincerity and ability to handle such challenges. Daniel Dubois is a real boxer with legitimate skills. He recently dominated Anthony Joshua in a fight that shocked many. The way Dubois dismantled Joshua from the first round was nothing short of impressive. He knocked Joshua down repeatedly, showing his speed, power, and ring IQ. This performance solidified his place as one of the top heavyweights in the world, making his challenge to Jake Paul even more significant. In his prime at just 27 years old, Dubois has the experience, talent, and confidence to take on any boxer. His victory over Joshua was a statement that he's a force to be reckoned with. In contrast, Jake Paul is still relatively new to boxing. While he's shown promise in some of his matches, he's faced opponents that many critics argue are either too old or too inexperienced to pose a real threat. Paul's biggest win came against Tyron Woodley, a former UFC fighter who had no professional boxing experience. The victory was a significant one for Paul, but it didn't quiet the critics who still saw him as a fighter trying to make a name at the expense of others. Now, with a challenge from Dubois, Jake Paul faces the reality of fighting someone who has spent years honing his skills in the ring. Dubois' jab alone could be a devastating weapon against Paul, who still lacks the technique and experience to handle a seasoned boxer at his level. Critics like former boxer Simon Jordan have expressed their disapproval, stating that the idea of a fight between Paul and Dubois is absurd, with Dubois likely knocking Paul out in less than a round. But Paul is known for his ability to generate revenue, and his massive social media following has brought new fans to boxing. His fights often draw huge crowds, and his ability to sell pay-per-view tickets has led to financial rewards for everyone involved. From a business perspective, a fight between Jake Paul and Daniel Dubois could make sense, especially considering the lucrative paydays involved. However, many are concerned that this would not be a fair contest and would tarnish the reputation of professional boxing. Critics have pointed out that Jake Paul's fights seem to be more about entertainment than actual competition. His previous matches with former UFC fighters and celebrities have been seen as little more than spectacles. Many of his bouts have been criticized as freak fights, where the goal isn't necessarily to prove who the better fighter is, but to make money and generate views. This latest call-out from Dubois presents a real opportunity for Paul to prove himself, but it also presents risks. A loss to a top-tier heavyweight like Dubois would be a massive blow to Paul's boxing career and his credibility as a fighter. The financial aspect of this challenge is impossible to ignore. Jake Paul has made a name for himself in the boxing world largely through his ability to generate revenue. He's turned fights into major events, often with large paydays attached. Even critics who question his boxing skills can't ignore the fact that Paul has brought significant financial opportunities to the sport. Fighters like Canelo Alvarez and Katie Taylor have earned millions because of the deals Jake Paul has negotiated, and there's no denying the impact he's had on the financial side of boxing. At the same time, some argue that Paul's success is based more on his marketing ability than his boxing skills. As much as he has brought attention to the sport, many believe he's avoiding legitimate challenges from professional boxers. When Paul was confronted with the idea of fighting a top-tier heavyweight like Daniel Dubois, he responded by downplaying the challenge and claiming that Dubois still had a long way to go before he could challenge someone like Paul. If the fight were to happen, it would undoubtedly be one of the most talked about events in recent boxing history. But many are skeptical that the fight will ever materialize, with some even questioning the legitimacy of a potential bout. Would it be a real contest between two elite fighters, or would it be another spectacle designed to entertain rather than showcase skill? The boxing world is no stranger to controversy, with many fighters using unconventional methods to make money and gain attention. The recent trend of old fighters coming back into the ring, such as Mike Tyson's exhibition match against Roy Jones Jr., has sparked debates about the role of celebrity boxing in the sport. Tyson at 58 and Paul at 26 are examples of how boxing is increasingly becoming about spectacle and financial gain rather than the sport itself. With figures like Tyson, Evander Holyfield, and Jake Paul bringing big money into the ring, it's clear that boxing is becoming just as much about the show as it is about the fight. In the case of Jake Paul versus Daniel Dubois, the fight may never happen, or it may end up being another short-lived spectacle. Whether or not it's a serious contest is unclear, but one thing is for sure, the world of boxing will continue to be filled with drama, spectacle, and, of course, massive paydays. Whether or not Jake Paul is ready for a real heavyweight fighter like Dubois is something only time will tell. But if he does take the fight, it could very well be a turning point in his career, for better or for worse. The ongoing spectacle of Jake Paul's boxing career raises important questions about the future of the sport. Will legitimate boxers like Daniel Dubois be forced to enter the world of celebrity boxing to secure major paydays? Or will Jake Paul finally step up and face real competition in the ring? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Boxing is in for more drama, controversy, and no doubt some very interesting matchups in the years to come.